Welcome back to another episode of Rectalk. Jeremy Snell, the recruitment cheerleader, I think I saw on your LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, indeed.
Community cheerleader, was it?
I'm a community cheerleader, that's how I like to put it. You know, I'm a big supporter of the industry. It's supported me for a long time. And I feel that everything that I do is about helping the industry to become better, whatever better looks like. Productivity, efficiency, underwritten with making sure that every day people go to work, they have fun, which is why I'm a cheerleader.
And do you have pom-poms?
I have pom-poms.
Great. What colour
Most
are they?
definitely. I have a red one and a yellow one.
Nice.
And
Bit of a clash there. I'm not sure about that. It's usually red and white.
no, I quite like the
opposite
the red and the yellow. Yeah, yeah.
I'm with you on that. I saw a riveting episode of Colour Blocks yesterday or the day before on CBeebies, where they talked about opposite colours and how they make each other pop. So yellow and red work.
Which is exactly why Heinz made the outside of the tin the blue colour, because it is exactly on the opposite scale of the chromacast to the orange of the sauce. So the sauce and the blue are in exactly opposite of colour.
There you have it, folks. Exclusives. Rectalk.
It's weird you know that.
Only
I know. I don't know where that came from either. It just came up and I was like, oh, I know this fact about colour.
Jeremy, do you want to come on Rectalk and talk about colour palettes? Yes.
Yeah, yes. Baked beans.
I'm there.
Baked beans.
Yeah.
Rectalk. We only touch on the important subjects, right? And that's colour palettes, pom-poms and baked beans.
Baked beans is the way forward. Breakfast of champions.
It is the breakfast of champions, to be fair. Do you know what's actually weirdly good? KFC's beans. Do you know the barbecue ones?
Mm-hmm.
You had them?
No.
They're actually really good.
The pot is disappointingly small.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, to be fair. It's like 2 spoonfuls of beans, but
Yeah, the gravy or nothing.
try the beans, the barbecue beans.
Because then I can't have the gravy. No.
You can. It's just under 99p. Stop being so cheap. Just fucking buy some beans.
Times are tough, mate. There's a cost of living crisis, right? And for 99p, I can buy a tin of Braxton's. In this episode of Rectalk is Braxton's? Branston's, that's it. Braxton. Who's Braxton's?
Tony Braxton. She sang good.
She was a singer, yeah.
Who's also a big fan of beans.
Yeah. True story. She was eating beans during the filming of Don't Break My Heart.
I don't know. Maybe.
Anyway, we went off a fucking weird tangent there.
Yeah.
Right, so Jeremy.
Nathan, you have to cut that, all of that.
Yeah. Nathan's like, you guys are just waffling shit,
For fuck's sake.
So look, we've obviously seen you in the sales training game or the recruitment training game.
Yep.
Right. And off air, we were talking about kind of how the biggest pain points right now for a lot of businesses and a lot of recruiters in kind of that small to medium type industry is business development.
Yes.
And the frustrations that I'm guessing they're having with their consultants, not having the right business development strategy.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
Which is strange, because, I mean, they're all asking for 30 seconds, so I don't understand
Yeah, they're
why
disrupting the
that's
pattern.
failing.
Everyone's happy. Well, let me reframe that. The majority of people are happy to pick up the phone and make cold calls. They're happy to call them a cold call. And they're craving, how do I get better at my cold calls like it's a tactic, rather than thinking about how do I improve the foundation of my sales strategy so that I get a better return from my cold calls. Because ultimately getting good at sales when you're using a phone only boils down to 3 things. You need to speak to the right person on the right day about the right subject. And if you're not speaking to the right people on the right day about the right subject, you can speak to the right people on the wrong day about the right subject, and they're just not, they're not in receptive mode. So you can use a tactic to be able to capture their attention. You can do something that you would feel is building a relationship, but ultimately it doesn't move the needle on what next month's fee performance looks like, compared to if you get better at building a strategy to improve the quality of the list of people that you call, which is right person, right day, right subject. And when people make their sales calls and they feel that they need to become more resilient to deal with rejection, or they start to take it personally, the majority of the time they're not being rejected as a person. The perception of the product is being rejected, or the timing of the product is being rejected. It's never actually the human being making the phone call who's getting rejected.
They're the forgettable bit.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Like you could phone somebody yesterday and say, name 3 people who cold called you yesterday. They'd give you gist. They would probably merge together. And in fact, I work with some recruiters where I encourage them to ask candidates who they talk to, clients who they talk to, who made the last placement with you or who got you your last job. And some of those candidates can't remember the name of the consultant, let alone the name of the agency. And they just say, I think I got it through an agency.
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
That's frightening, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
that's terrible.
The amount of times that we've seen that, we're like, just talk to a candidate. It's like, I still half run a desk. And the amount of times I'll talk to a candidate and they'll be like, yeah, I'm working with another agency. Okay, who are you working with? I want to say it's someone like insert big agency or small agency here. And I was like, right, okay, you want to say, so who's the consultant? I think his name's like John, or I think it's like Karen or whoever. And it's like, bro, okay, well, nice to know that experience is working well for you then. And they're like, well, no, so what are they doing wrong? What are they doing wrong for you to not know who they are? Well, they just called me about a job and they put me forward for it and that was it. And it's like, okay, great. So what you've got now is a consultant who's called you and just said, Jeremy, it's blah, 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 blah. And then you sound like the Charlie Brown kind of teachers, don't you? What. And that's the bit that they hear, right? And it's like, but I've got this job. It's a sales trainer role in such and such business, paying such and such money at this location. Great. Okay. Yeah, they tick my boxes. Can I put you forward for it? Yeah. Okay. Great. Bosh. Done. And then they move on.
But they're only paying attention to the bit that's important to them. What the job is, what the salary is, where it is,
but that's
and are you going to put me forward or not?
Yeah. And they're paying attention to the thing that it ultimately is most important to them, which is them, and all the what's in this for me.
Yeah.
And everything else is.
But none of that call is discovery, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, what you've described there is a transactional conversation, right? And if that transactional conversation, for me, I think your BD strategy starts with your approach for both your candidates and your clients.
Totally.
Because business development isn't just about speaking to clients. It's the way in which you speak to your candidates as well.
Yeah.
Now, if your approach to speaking to candidates is, hi, Jeremy, it's me from this place. I have this job, paying this, doing that. Your CV looks great. Can I put you forward? Yeah, great. Or can you fill out a reg form? That transactional relationship is exactly how you're doing your BD calls. Hi, Jeremy, I work for this recruitment agency. I've seen your hiring. Can I send you some CVs? No. Okay. Hi, Jeremy. Do you know what I mean? And that is your approach.
And you can make that call 1,000 times, and you'll probably pick up a job.
And you'll stumble over something, and you'll, it's the, and I think if there's consultants out there that are like, I'm struggling with my BD strategy, I think they need to really maybe look at, how am I with candidates? Am I asking the right questions to the candidates? Am I using that candidate conversation to its full?
Exactly.
Well,
to loosen myself up, to understand how to ask open questions, to understand that that people aren't going to be like, why are you asking me that for?
Yes.
That's a strange thing to ask.
Well, let's kind of address that for a second then. So I'm a recruitment business owner, fictitiously. I don't really have I'm a fictitious recruitment business owner, and I've got 10 consultants who work for me. I'll come to you, Jeremy, listen, I don't know what we're doing wrong, but we're doing something wrong. And I know that, I just can't identify it. I need your help. What would that conversation
They're all asking for 30 seconds and they're getting it, but we're still not making any sense.
Across 10 BD calls, we're getting 300 seconds, but nothing's happening in that.
Yeah. Well, the first thing starts with really talking to the business owner about what are your goals actually from business development? What are you looking to create? What does your business look like now in terms of customer base? Who are the customers that are your keepers? And if you could find more customers who look like that, what then becomes the avatar of your keeper customers? Who are the customers that you've got that are on the naughty list, that if you had a magic wand and you could replace them, you would fire them tomorrow? And what are you doing about finding the organisation that becomes incrementally better than the one that is at the bottom of your list? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So if you say I've got 10 customers and this one is number 10 in terms of performance, what's your plan to replace them so that you still have 10 customers, but they all incrementally become better?
Incremental margins
average.
of increasing them 1% at a time.
And I can ask that to some business owners and the faces look quite blank, and I can ask other business owners and they have a foundation of a thought that hasn't yet turned into a sales strategy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, if I could win more customers like this, Jeremy, our business would be more robust. But our consultants keep getting involved with customers like this who give us a bit more of a runaround. They don't pay full attention to the CVs that are sent, and Charlie Brown voice, blah, 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 right? All of the little sob stories. So if you had a better strategy to be able to engage with more businesses who would behave like this, who look like that, and that started to feed into how people every day created their sales plan, they'd now have content as to what they're going to talk to somebody about in that 30 seconds of capture. But I have to say, I'm not a fan of the this is a sales call. Can I have 30 seconds? Because already it's become overused to the point that what was a cute pattern interrupt is now a standard
I had
script.
a pattern interrupt not long ago, and it really, I don't know why it wound me up so much, but it really gets
Yeah, it
to
did.
me.
It really got to him.
Yeah. Somebody called me and she was like, it's a sales call. Can I have 28 seconds? And I'm just like, right, so wait, you're now trying to pattern disrupt the pattern disrupt. Like, well, what are you trying to do? Like, I don't understand that. The 28 seconds, does that make me think, oh, well, she's asking for less than 30 seconds, so by default, I should have that time. I didn't understand what she was trying to achieve by that. And what that for me was really low-hanging fruit.
Yes. Yeah.
It's, I know that, well, I don't know why I'm using a pattern disrupt, but I've been told to use one. I've been told to change the pattern disrupt significantly enough for me to be able to kind of get somebody's attention and for me to bring them into the room. But again, you don't know why you're doing that.
The issue is it's memorable because you're talking about it, but you don't know what she was selling. You don't know. Do you know what I mean? You don't remember anything short of the fact that she used that as an opener.
And it didn't advance anywhere. It's not like on the back of it there was a meeting that took place.
No.
There wouldn't have been anyway, because I think that to me was just a very cheap imitation of. I would much prefer somebody saying it's a sales call, can I have 30 seconds, than somebody say to me it's a sales call, or can I have 28 seconds. That to me is it's very knockoff, right? It's very kind of it's like it is though, isn't it? It's a knockoff version of.
It's so strange that you're getting wound up about it. You know, like, you can hear it in your voice. You're getting stressed out about
It's like
it
there's
now.
a shop called Poundland, and there's also a shop called 99p.
99p stores.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
Poundland
What?
had the original concept, which is
it seems cheap, doesn't it? To
It is.
undercut something that's already like it just seems a
Devalued.
bit
Yeah.
That's it. I think you mentioned earlier in what you were saying that I think that is probably a reason why BD is so important to so many people, but people are struggling with it, right?
yes.
A strategy takes time to get right, implement, and see results from.
Yes,
But we all have sales targets.
indeed.
And I need to move that needle, like you said. So when you're saying, right, here's my ideal profile customer, I want more of these people. They're not going to come overnight. No. They absolutely aren't going to come in a month or two. They're going to take time to develop relationships with and build out a value add piece for them to consider you the appropriate consultant or agency to work with. But in the meantime, I've still got targets to meet. And those your Charlie Brown customers, whilst annoying they might be, they are also likely to be the ones that are going to throw work at you because they're throwing it to everybody, and you've got a chance of chucking that shooting the fish in the barrel and maybe getting it.
Well, it's shit of all things, isn't it?
Kind of. But if you condition yourself to the fact that that's the way it is, you never seek a way to get out of being caught in the loop with some of those Charlie
No,
Brown
that's what I'm saying.
right?
I think that's the cycle that maybe some consultants are stuck in, because they're like, I want to do all the right things, but in doing all the right things, I'm not going to see immediate results. And actually, I've got the pressure of immediate results.
But I don't see why you wouldn't see immediate results.
You're not going to sign up a big PSL.
It doesn't have to be a big PSL, though.
Well, no, it doesn't have to be.
If you look at some of our most profitable customers, we've had customers who literally are around the corner from us and are a reasonable sized business, but we've had shitloads of work come off them.
Yeah.
Equally, we've signed big PSLs and we haven't got a single piece of work out of them.
Are you right if I name businesses?
Yeah, of course.
They might not be.
Local to here.
Yeah.
I did a piece of work for a housing association when I was a recruiter with a business called Orbit.
Yeah.
And Orbit was a very large social housing provider. Their finance director relocated to Australia that created a gap. And then you suddenly had 12 housing associations in the West Midlands and only 11 finance directors with housing association experience. So when I moved one from another housing association that was called Jeffson to Orbit, there was now a gap. And then when I moved another one from the West Midlands into there, and I moved from Coventry all the way up to Manchester, moving a chess piece.
You did that with...
And I would consider that to be good quality business that I could win predictably, and it became easier and easier to win the next piece of business because what I had was stronger and stronger case study. So the strategy really was building this flywheel of reputation.
But before you got to that point, though, how did you even start working with Orbit?
Because the person who was moving on had worked with me previously somewhere else.
And was he in charge of his own replacement?
No. But gave me the For those on audio, I winked, but gave me the gave me the little wink that started the process. But as a strategy,
we have to kind of go back beyond that, then, don't we? Because if you're talking about, okay, so the FD that was at Orbit left, but you were already working with them, which is why he gave you the nudge. Where did that relationship start? Because that's got to go back 3 or 4 steps before that, right? For him to have such a relationship with you, where he's like, "Listen,
if you take our tech desk. So last year, Eon and Eon Next were our biggest accounts, right? Throughout the time, we've got Shell Energy down the road, and just working with Eon isn't enough for me to say to Tom, well, "Call Shell Energy. Like they'll give you a job. You're working with Eon. That isn't enough." You've got there is a process that needs to be followed, and so on and so forth. And in that time, there might be a range of other, excuse my French, but shit bunch of jobs that come up. But Tom's going to want to work and fill those as well, because Tom wants to earn commission and Tom wants to hit his targets. And I think it's that cycle that consultants are getting stuck in, because it's the pressure comes from top down, and it's all well and good an MD sitting down with you and be like, I need my guys to, we want better customers, and because everybody wants better customers who give you better jobs and all the rest of it. Of course they do, but the cycle that you're in for a reason, and that usually comes down to your initial strategy, which was, I don't care, you need to fill, you need to put fees on the board. I don't care where that comes from. You need to put money on the board. We used to, we had a client, I say a client, it was a conversation I was having through Rectalk, and the guy was basically like, look, I need help with my credit control. What's going on? I'm owed 50 grand and my investors are on my back. And I'm like, why are you owed 50 grand? Oh, well, because this work came up and blah, blah, blah. And, and I did the work. And I was like, right, but why are you owed 50 grand? You went for the low hanging fruit, because if you ran a credit check, it would have showed you, don't do business with this company. If you'd have looked on company's house or whatever, but actually looked on their LinkedIn as well, you'd have seen the amount of people who have historically worked there and left so quickly. There's an issue here. But you went to that business and you did 50 grand's worth of business with them because you wanted the quick win and the low hanging fruit. And now you're sat here going, oh, it's a disaster. And I think that's where we talk about sort of strategy comes from top down. If you've got an MD, I feel as though if you've got an MD saying to you, Jeremy, well, we need to look at strategy because, here's the issues that we're having and blah, blah, blah. Well, you kind of created that situation in the first place. So it's a mind shift change that maybe you've got to get the MD to go through first, right? Before you start.
Totally.
Yeah. Come on, Jeremy, here's my 10 staff. Teach them how to be better salespeople.
Because the MD's got to be able to support them to roll out the strategy that's going to help them. Yeah. Like everything that you do today in recruitment is going to be linked to making money. When the pressure is on, it's all about this month. Like, what are you going to bill this month? Mm-hmm. That's as far as a consultant can see in terms of long range forecasting. They're not thinking about September yet.
No.
Because we're still in July and maybe they're starting to sandbag some stuff for August, but September's September.
But we used to, though, didn't we?
Yes.
We said this off camera. I think people who have got into recruitment kind of post-pandemic or during the pandemic are operating in this fill it now mentality.
Because they haven't had to think about it in 3 months.
By the 30th of the month, wrap it all up, start again the next month.
But
whereas we used to sit there. I mean, we were oppos. So I was perm, he was temp, and there'd be times where I'd be going, right, I've got this. Here's my job portfolio, and we'd sit down together, and I'd go, these 3 jobs here are competitive, and they're moving quick. Fire a temp in there. These 2 here, I've got full control over. It's exclusive. Blah blah blah. The likelihood is it's going to be 3-month notice period. So that's September covered. That's October covered, right? I need these jobs here, like what I need SF Group off my back, I need Hayes off my back. Can you just fire a temp in there? That'll give us time. And then equally, there'd be times where I'd be like, mate, I've got literally no pipeline. My jobs have all fallen apart. Have you got any of those temps that are likely to go perm? And he'd go, yeah, I've had them long enough. I'll make the call, see if we can get it over the line for perm. And we'd forecast between ourselves on the journeys to work going, let's make sure we make commission every fucking month.
But that, to be fair though, right, the commission was structured in such a way.
Yeah.
Because our commission structure at our old agency was 10% of billings past threshold for month 1. Mm-hmm. Month 2 was the same. Month 3, you used to get an accelerator, which is like 22.5% of the quarter's billings. So a lot of consultants would then be like, all right, I'm just going to chuck this one in for September. I'll chuck it in for September because now I know that
pushing it back.
Come September, I'm going to have that big month where I'm going to get 22.5%. So you used to have to strategically think like that.
And I think that's a great mentality. You start the quarter acting as if it's the end of the quarter, rather than start the quarter like it's the beginning of the quarter. And some people go into it so slowly, because it's the start of the quarter, that they then have to do some acceleration in the last 5
Ramp
weeks.
it up. Yeah.
And that sometimes means that stuff pushes into the next quarter, and you end up with people having good month, bad month, good month, bad month, because of the short term.
We used to know
planning.
a consultant who used to. You're thinking about the same thing, weren't you?
I was like, do I say this?
We knew a consultant who consistently on the third month of 22.5%, she would have the best month ever, and she'd have like 30, 40, 50k billings or whatever, and then the following 2 months they were all dropouts.
Back out.
Oh yeah, this one's backed out. I've got to refill that. It's like, okay,
bit of a trend here, isn't it?
Yeah, happened for the last 4 quarters, but you know, whatever. We'll look past that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the thing, though, and I think those sort of businesses though were rewarding consistency, and they were rewarding strategy.
Yes.
And we had a conversation recently. It was with Bobby Banerjee, weren't it? And he was talking about how like there's a dip in the market and all that sort of stuff. And I disagree with that personally. I don't think there is necessarily a dip in the market. I think what we're finding is that the quality of recruiter is now getting a light shine on them.
Yes,
because
me too.
There's a dip in the quality.
Because what we've got is a bunch of recruiters who were making hay while the sun shined, and they were able to just fill because that's all they needed to do. Now clients are expecting a lot more. They're like, no. If salaries are going up, the quality of candidate that I want goes up as well, and the quality of work that they should be delivering goes up. The quality of service that you provide me should go up.
Yes.
And the problem we have is, we go back to that strategy piece, when if a consultant hasn't had that strategy 12 months ago, now they're looking at it thinking, clients are being unreasonable. My candidates want too much money. The market is just frustrating.
MDs that are listening, that'll be listening, will hear these excuses all day long. Candidates aren't answering the phones. No one's calling me back. The client's not paying enough, or they need to be more flexible. And it's like this weird little excuse culture that's developing within recruitment at the minute is frustrating, because it's sort of like, no. There was a time where it was up to us to educate clients and candidates and
that's the consultant
consult on the market conditions, and form part of a strategy, I suppose.
And they build echo chambers around themselves with other people who feel the same, right? So when they hear others, wherever it is, like a LinkedIn group or a forum or whatever,
or even in the office,
you get little moments around a water cooler where it's not great, is it? No, it's not great.
Market's tough, isn't it? Market's tough. That's the one that annoys me the most. Market's tough. No, it's not.
So the
market's always tough.
Of course it is. Our job's tough. That's the point. If our job was easy, the clients would do it themselves. If it was that easy to find a candidate, they would just do it.
Yeah. Indeed.
And now they just turn to a sales trainer to come in and like make my team better.
Which all ends up focusing on tactics. Like most requests that I get start with, can you come in and teach my people to be better tacticians? It's really difficult to help people to be better tacticians if they don't actually have a game plan.
Spoken like a true Jose Mourinho.
So like, maybe. But when you've got
Jeremy Snell.
when you've got like this demand. When you've got this demand for they need to get better at dealing with objections, or they need to get better at how to be able to open sales calls, or they need to get better at being able to hit their KPIs. All of those become much easier if you've got a better game plan as to what is the purpose of what I'm doing. How do I make sure that I'm targeting businesses who will want to work with me, not just businesses that I want to work with? And how do I start to increase the quality of the lists that I create that become the fodder for my sales outreach without compromise on quality, so that I'm starting to find better matched organizations to the service that we offer, where they're far more likely to want to actually explore it with intent rather than explore it opportunistically to see if I'll price match the 15% or 12% or whatever it is that somebody else agreed to work at that is producing zero results. And when the pressure is, we need more jobs, guys, and somebody says, we've given this to other agencies, if you do it at 15%, you can have it too. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Go on then. And they get better. They get better at negotiating with their boss as to why they should, rather than negotiating.
Yeah, negotiating with the wrong person. Yeah.
So the negotiation spins 180 degrees.
With there's a couple of them upstairs that do that. no, but I need to, like, because, and it's like, listen, don't try and convince me. Get on the phone and convince your client why they should pay the extra £2-3 an hour on the charge out. Don't tell me why you're trying to drop it down.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you
Same skill set.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's flip this conversation. And then it's like, oh, I don't want to. Well, okay. It's a want.
So that
becomes the choice of going down the path of least resistance.
Yes. Yeah.
Rather than the path of maximum reward. And the path of least resistance is always really tempting. But you end up creating an easy now, which creates a hard future. Whereas if you have a hard now, you have an easier future.
The issue you've got there, what you're describing is quantity over quality, aren't you? If we're talking about somebody who's got 10 jobs at 15%, they're all super competitive.
Yeah.
They're all multi-agencies. They're all kind of, it's below market average salary. It's in the arse end of nowhere. It's a difficult job. There's not really many perks, statutory holidays, statutory pensions, all the other bits and pieces where you think, right, this is going to be a hard sell to a candidate. At that point is where you got to educate the client to be like, listen, if you're not offering them above market salary because the rest of the job is, or the rest of the perks aren't great, you're going to struggle to fill this.
Yeah.
I'm going to. You can go out to 1 million agencies if you want to. We're going to struggle to fill it because we're all fishing out the same pool. Everyone's got access to LinkedIn. Everyone's got access to Reed, CV Library. Other job boards are available. But the point is, the education piece is on us as consultants to tell the client what the market is doing. If a candidate is driven by flexibilities, package, benefits, work-life balance, all these weird, wonderful things that they're now looking for, the client needs to know that. And if they're still refusing to budge, you can quite simply say, okay, look, I'm not going to work this at 15%. What I will do though, if I find the right candidate that I think is going to work for you, and I just so happen to find them on my journey to finding other jobs, I will position your role with them, but we're working at 25%.
Yeah, at my fee. Yeah. And then it's up to you.
Yeah, if you want to take that candidate, then great, take them, but it's 25%.
But I think, again, the issue there is, though, that two parts, right? In that it takes a lot of confidence for a consultant to be able to have that level of conversation with a client. And secondly, when there's a lot of pressure of, we haven't billed or you haven't billed enough, you kind of don't want to have that conversation. You don't want to have that kind of level of, I'm going to walk away from this job or I'm going to walk away from this work, because, we see it all the time. The consultants will take on work that they've got no chance in hell of filling, just to feel like, oh no, but if that lands, if I find someone
who's
there's a 1 in 10 chance,
who's never heard of them,
and they do it time and time again. And I suppose as long as that keeps paying off in some way, people keep doing it.
But it gets reinforced as a behaviour because nothing from leadership actually starts to suggest there's a better way to do it.
I had exactly this sort of issue. Remember I was telling you about? So I recently filled a finance manager job, and the client calls up and he's like, look, we want somebody temp. This is what we're looking for. We've just been bought by a different business, and the financial models that I've got and the reporting that I've got is out of date, and now we're having to recruit at scale, but we're also having to kind of increase the productivity much quicker than we thought we were going to. I was going to hire this in September, but I need it now. Fine, no worries. Temp, yep. Day rate, yep. Okay, perfect. Go through it, find the candidates, and I get some CVs sent over. Client then rejects one of my candidates, or the candidate gets through to final stage, rejects the candidate because he's like, yeah, look, he just doesn't want any long term. Neither do you. You want a temp. Yeah, I know, but like the proposition of long term would be more beneficial to us. And it's like, okay, fine. He offers this other person who wants long term. Turns out that person has like 3 weeks worth of holiday over the next 4 weeks. So back out to market. Text me on Monday morning, won't it? Is that candidate that you had still available? Should be. Let me double check. Make the phone call. The candidate's like, yeah, fine. And then he's like, yeah, I've got to go to the COO, and they've decided actually no, it's still a no. And I'm like, oh, God. And I said to him, I'm enabling this guy to just do this because he's asking all these unreasonable things, but I'm just enabling him.
Yeah.
And I'm in this. So I ended up filling the job. So the guy's like, look, I want somebody perm, and I just so happened to find somebody perm within my network. And I was like, look, here's the person that you want. They interviewed him, took the job, and he's there now, right? So it ended up being a perm fill. But I said to him after, I was like, the problem is the client was being super unreasonable, and even with the years of experience that I've got, right, the client was being unreasonable, and I know he was. The client was asking for things that really he shouldn't have been asking for.
Yeah,
and
I want someone who can start tomorrow as a temp, but also wants perm. So they have to be immediately available, and they have to be perfect for my business in the long term. And it's like, are you taking the piss?
Yeah,
Like,
but the problem is, by finding somebody like that and getting
Yeah,
a
you've
place,
enabled him.
I've
Yeah,
enabled him.
yeah.
So what I've done is I've actually changed his perception to maybe I wasn't being reasonable. Maybe what I was asking was challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they still managed to find it. So I was right.
If I push hard enough, they will
Yeah.
find it. Yeah, he was just saying no because it was too much hard work or whatever.
Whatever
Yeah.
the situation is, but yeah, it came from me enabling him. And I said to him straight after that process had finished, and I was like, it fucking happened again, because we always moan about these clients that are like, oh, they're asking for the world, and we deliver it.
Yeah.
But long term, that can't be the strategy, because again, what I'll probably find is that I'm going to have a phone call in about 4 weeks' time.
Yeah.
I need somebody else yesterday who's perm, who's 10k below market average, and all that sort of stuff. And it's then that cycle again, isn't it? Of, am I prepared to walk away from that, or do I just run with it? In this scenario, I was like, bro, you're getting full feed, so I'll do it because I'm charging you a full fee. But if you wanted any kind of discounts, then that was a big no-no for me.
Yeah.
And I think if at my level I'm still doing that, then at kind of consultant level,
It's hard to ask a consultant not to do it.
Of course it is.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you must get pushback from consultants, though. You must get people sit there and be like, look, Jeremy, if I do all of this, that sounds all great, but I need 3 months worth of no target. So I need like a month or two where my boss is off my back so I can focus on strategy like this.
It's not an all or nothing strategy, right?
Okay.
If you were to sit down with a consultant today and say, right, show me your sales plan for this week. And let's just say, for argument's sake, they've got 120 sales calls planned. I would want to go through that with them and say, which of these sales calls are linked to business for this month? Which of these sales calls are linked to business for next month? And which of these sales calls are linked to business for next quarter? So that you start to divide your sales plan into, this is the stuff which is quick turnaround, is going to generate income for now. This is the stuff which is designed to help me to feed next month. And then this is my slower burn. This is my shell. This is my avatar.
Win that big account.
So I've got some cash cow accounts that I'm nurturing and I'm working that is for next quarter. That's going to require a bit more multi-threading, targeting more points of contact, being a little bit more willing to play a patient, longer game. And if I focus all of my attention on doing that, then I'm not going to eat for the next quarter. And I'll probably get fired because I won't deliver anything, right? So then I've got this business, and this is about making sure that next month is being looked after. And I've got businesses who I'm targeting here, who I believe, based upon either conversations that we've had or conditions I can see in their company, they're going to be pulling the lever on doing some recruitment. And then I've got this part of my sales plan, which is all about business for now. These are my hot leads. These are the conversations that I was nurturing last month and the month before, so that I can start to see we're like one push away from being at that point where they go from considering me to actually entering into a buying mode. And few consultants actually divide their business planning into that. They just go, here's 100 businesses I'd really like to work with.
Start trudging through it.
And I'll just start going through it. And they might asset strip some CVs and go, here's 100 employers from CVs of people that employ .NET developers. So I'll ring all of these .NET managers and go, hey, how about it? And then based upon their reaction, I might pick up a couple of jobs, and they'll probably end up being jobs that other people have already played with. And they might not tell me that, but I might start to discover through talking to the market, I had an interview there last week, or I know them. And start to realise, that's why you gave the job to a stranger. Like if somebody says, I've got this really important job in my business to fill, hey, we've never spoken, you can have it.
Yeah, hello,
like
complete stranger on the
that's
phone.
like red flagging for me straight away. It's like, why are you giving that to me?
But so many consultants don't see that.
No,
so
like
many. We have this conversation all the time. Look, guys, if you're picking up a job off a BD call and it's your first BD call to that client, just be aware that's not going to be an easy fill.
No.
That might sound all great. Oh, I picked up 4 jobs today, all with new clients. Like, you fucking, that's going to, but right off the rest of your week.
Totally.
But at the same time,
unless what you position in that is the right part of your sales process that's linked to your strategy. Like if you want to give me that work, I appreciate the fact that you feel like you're choosing me already. I haven't chosen you. So before I actually agree to do any work on a specific job, let's spend a bit more time understanding about you, your business, your goals, your strategy. If I just go straight into taking a job and I've got a remuneration package, a person spec, a job description, some interview slots notionally booked, and I think, hey, I'm going to make some money out of this, I've yet to test truly their behaviours as to their commitment. Like, are you choosing me, or is necessity driving you to give this to a stranger? Because if you give this to me out of necessity because no one else can fill it, I'm an NPC in this. I'm a non-player character. I'm just another provider of CVs. And if I push you to say, let's have a better quality conversation and understand more about your business, I haven't got time. Can I just send you the job description and you have a look at it? You're treating me like an NPC.
Yeah.
And if I'm an NPC, like in a movie, I'm definitely getting killed in this horror film. Right? There's no way I'm making it through to the end. Right?
Yeah, I've
I'm
not
an
even been
NPC.
given a name. Yeah, yeah. Person.
That would be such a great test, wouldn't it? If the consultant said, yeah, okay, before I work on it, remind me what my name is.
Yeah.
Gordon? Well, I'll do. Go on then, send it through.
Yeah. I've got just the candidate for you.
But people don't like to feel that that's the truth, or they don't slow down enough to actually see that that's a high
That's driven
probability.
by belief, though, right? So if you're talking about, so we've got a consultant who is a rebel without a cause, right? He'll push back on everything, and he'll push back until he sees it with his own eyes. And sometimes it's been a case of, listen, you're doing it because I've told you to do it. That's it, right? If I need to go through an entire journey of explaining to you why you need to do it, and then I need to continuously reinforce that journey and invest days and days and days in convincing you as to why you should do this, right? Then we're going to have a different conversation. So for now, just fucking do it, right? And we've realised with him that works a lot better, doesn't it? Because then what happens is, at the start, he's like, no, I don't believe it, no, I don't believe it, no, I don't believe it. And then the next thing you know is like, oh, actually, that worked. Oh, what a surprise.
Yeah.
Try it again. And then it worked. And now, belief starts to creep in. And all of a sudden, it's like, maybe this is going to work then. Maybe this has got legs. And then, rather than spending a month trying to convince him to try it, you almost just force him to try it. And it ends up just working for him, and that 30 days is spent with him slowly chipping away at the
improving
fact that, and it's the belief system. But when your beliefs change, your habits change with it. And if you've got consultants now who just refuse to ask certain questions because they're like, oh, I wouldn't want to get asked that question, or if you've got consultants who are like, no, but I can't say that because I wouldn't want somebody to say that to me, or I wouldn't want to be asked if I'm a non-playable character or anything like that. How do you then push back with those consultants to convince them to say, okay, no, this is why you should try it?
A lot of it becomes a reframe that if they carry on doing what they're doing, what do they expect is going to happen? Like at some point,
why am I here?
You need to try something different. Like, what is the purpose of your job? And why do you choose to turn up every day? And how do you know when you're doing a good job? Like, what actually are the outcomes that you're seeking to achieve? So if those are the outcomes, and we look at the average business which is out there today, companies are really poor at hiring people. Companies are really bad at interviewing people. And our job is to help guide them through that process to be able to get it better.
Yeah, which is why the industry exists, essentially, yeah.
And if you truly care for your clients and your candidates, you would ask them the questions that other people aren't willing to ask, because those become the valuable questions. Because no one else is asking them.
Do you have to truly care about your candidates and consultants? Can you not just care about your commission and still do a good job?
I suppose someone
Yeah.
could, right?
This isn't just a caveat. Like, this isn't my opinion. I'm just
The difficult thing for me is I'm so firmly in the trench. Like, I don't have to care about them as if they were a very close personal friend.
No.
And we're barbecues at each other's house. And
No.
godparents to my
But like,
children,
okay,
right?
so
but what I have to
you
care
have-
about is their goal.
Okay, but so you have a candidate in a process, call it the .NET developer again, right?
Yeah.
And this candidate says to you, do you know what, Jeremy, I'm going to be honest with you, I've got a fantastic .NET developer opportunity for this global leading business on the table, but it's through another agency. And you know that your relationship with this person is strong enough for you to be like, mate, don't go there. They churn through people. You could tell this person anything and he will eat, or he or she will eat out of your hands. You know, you've got to go to this person. These guys will look after you. You know, a year with these guys is going to be like working 5 years with the big boys, because you're going to get so much exposure. You can feed him any line and he'll be like, if that's what you reckon, mate, that's what we'll do, you know. you're not thinking about that person's best interest. You are thinking about your commission at that point, aren't you? Because you don't want to have to rework the entire job.
If what you said is true, then I'm thinking about the candidate's best interests.
No, but it's not true. You don't know
I
that
made
for
it
sure,
up.
do you? Yeah. No, but you don't know that for sure, do you? You wouldn't know that that's the case. You'd just be reiterating what that line manager or MD of that smaller business has told you, right? Mm-hmm. You don't know for sure because we're not .NET developers and we've not.
The candidate's only taking your advice because you've obviously built some sort of
relationship. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, can you still do right by the candidate, but not actually care? But you actually care more about your commission because at the end of the day, as consultants, we've all had that opportunity where we're kind of like, I could get this guy over the line. I could get this person over the line.
But the good consultants don't, though, because you know what the long-term repercussions are.
Oh, yeah.
So you could make...
As long as it's after 8 weeks, you can.
You could make a fee that might not stick.
Yeah.
But you could also burn a bridge with a candidate
And a client.
that could cause you problems for far longer, and with a client, and maybe even with another company who you could potentially do business with. Like there's too many things at play there. Mm-hmm. So in the scenario you've described, I don't think you can.
Yeah,
right?
fine. I'll take that.
And there's
I think you're onto something there.
neglected in recruitment. Sorry,
No, go on.
neglected in recruitment is the concept of buyer safety. Mm-hmm. So from a buyer safety perspective, I have no data to back this up. This is hunch, gut feel, professional experience, right? I think there are a large percentage of candidates out there who don't fully trust the recruiters that they work with because they don't believe that they have a transparent agenda as to what their goal is. So because there isn't a shared agenda of a shared goal, candidates protect their true agenda, recruiters protect their true agenda, and then they both get frustrated at the point that they have to declare agendas.
Yeah.
So when the candidate says, hey, look, I've decided to stay where I am, I've been offered more money, and the recruiter spins out and writes something on LinkedIn about the stupidity of taking counter offers. And
It's
then
such a passive aggressive
it's
shit.
terrible, isn't it?
Oh, I hate that one.
And they have no empathy for the candidate.
Yeah.
And didn't really understand what their goal was because they asked them the question like, why do you want to leave? And they go, I want a new challenge. They look at the CV and go, you've been there 5 years.
Yeah, that sounds good.
You've been there 5 years. You woke up this morning and you want a new challenge. Yeah. I saw your message on LinkedIn, man, and it was just it.
Yeah.
Your message that said, I've got an interesting opportunity that may be of interest.
Yeah.
Very challenging.
That really...
That reeled me right. That reeled me right.
Oh, this might be the new challenge I'm looking for. It's funny you say that. We caveat our conversations with candidates in what we feel is the absolute way to do it, which is, Jeremy, look, it's in my interest. I get paid commission. Mm-hmm. It's in my interest to, and I charge a fee for my service, right, to my clients. It is in my interest to get you the best salary. Equally, though, what I don't want to do is price you out. So if I'm putting you forward at 80 grand, but I've got somebody who's got double the experience or an extra 3 or 4 years on you or something a bit more relevant, and that person also wants 80 grand, I don't want to price you out. So we never ask what you want at the minute. We'll never ask that. We'll ask them, right, here's a job, location, here's all the shit, all that good shit. What do you want to do this job? What do you want to be paid? And then we'll consult based on that. But we make it abundantly clear at the start that, look, we charge a fee for our service. It's in my interest to get you 80, but if I can't get you 80, I'm going to get you as close to that as possible.
Yeah.
That's my agenda.
Yeah, just the declaration of the higher your salary, the higher my fee.
But
automatically puts the candidate straight into like, oh, okay, that person is gonna. Even if
he's working for me, not the client.
Yeah, even if the reason that he's trying to get me a higher salary is self-serving, the end goal is the same.
Yeah, I'll benefit.
But it's shared benefit. It's mutual benefit, right?
Yeah.
But there's such a big list of other things for the candidate that will be considerations. That like my take with the candidate is, I explain to a candidate, my goal is to endeavour to find you things that meet or exceed your expectations, where the reality is you come first. I'm not here to arrange interviews where you keep coming second and third. So every time I talk to you about something, it's because I have an explicit intent to help you to achieve your objectives and position you in a way that they see you as being the primary choice. The better we work together on that.
If you're working with 3 or 4 candidates, right? So a client says to you, right, I need a short list of 3 people at least. I want to interview at least 3 people so that I feel like I've got a good exploration of the market, right? You can't then have 3 candidates who are going to be first for that job.
No, but I can give them everything that they need to position themselves to come first. Like if I said to 3 candidates, here are 5 things that I recommend that you do in terms of prep for tomorrow's interview. One of them will do all 5. They all had the opportunity to do the 5 things. Does that make sense? Some of them decide, well, I've had loads of interviews, so I don't need to do any prep. And the reason they've had loads of interviews is they don't know how to do prep, right? So it's like the whole
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I'll be fine. I'm just going to wing it.
Always the bridesmaid.
Yeah,
always. Yeah.
And it always seems to be about cultural fit.
Yeah.
So I give them all of the tools that they need to be the best performing version of themselves in that interview. The three of them, like I could rank them and say, I think that probably 1, 2, 3, but the client may then reshuffle that deck and go, actually, it's 3, 2, 1. Like I don't actually know who they're going to offer. Mm-hmm. And just as a side point, that's why recruitment businesses are so bad at hiring consultants, is they think that they're really good at recruitment.
Oh, we suck at it so bad.
But they're not very, the reality is they're not very good at hiring, right? We make recommendations as to who to see. We never make the hiring decision.
No, we wouldn't, yeah.
And that's one of the real stinging points for a lot of, like, us included. We made some awful hiring decisions because on the surface of it, you look at it and think, yeah, okay, this person would be a good hire, and they say all the right things, they do all the right things, but actually our mind is always cast at, if I can get somebody sat on that seat, I can crack on and do something else.
Yeah.
And I can train them. Yeah.
It's like
even if they're rubbish, I can make them do good. Yeah.
I would recruit them. I would put them forward. Like there's so many positives. Mm-hmm. They're going to get the job. But then when you're suddenly the hiring decision maker, different things come into play. And that's what frustrates some recruitment consultants is they're like, I can't believe they didn't offer them the job. They're perfect.
I hate that.
But they're not making the hiring decision. So they don't, unless they've fully unpacked all of the decision criteria in hiring.
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
A big pet peeve of mine is when recruiters say, oh, they're perfect for the job. You don't know that.
Yeah.
Or when they start a BD call or a BD
emails as well. Yeah, I've got the perfect candidate for your vacancy.
It's
based on what?
Yeah.
Based on what? A job spec that you've read or something you think you know about my business. How do you know it's a perfect candidate? Like,
exactly.
Don't use shit like that.
Even if you have a full brief, inside and out, you know everything there is to know about the candidate, the client, the job. You've done the job in the past, whatever, right? You still don't know who the perfect candidate is because the decision is based on emotion. And it's then justified with logic, right? Yeah. So if I'm hiring Jeremy, I'm looking at him thinking, okay, yeah, on paper he's got all the skills and experiences, but he's a Motorhead fan and I hate Motorhead. Mm-hmm. And that for me is the focal point.
I hate Motorhead.
I don't hate Motorhead, but I'm just we're trying to make a point. But I hate Motorhead.
Can't zone in on the beard either.
Well, I shaved mine recently. I trimmed it down. Otherwise, I think I would have been not far away from where you were, but I'm going to redo mine. I'm going to make it
sorry to distract.
Kratos-y. But the point is though, it'd be a case of like I'm not a fan of Motorhead, or I didn't like the fact that he wore brown boots, and whatever my decision, and all of a sudden that's now going to start playing a big part into why I am or I'm not going to hire you. So having the perfect candidate doesn't exist.
No.
Having the right fit at the time, that's what we're aiming for. It's about, like you said before, right time.
Well, like I've got someone who I think is going to be great. I've got somebody I'm really excited about. You know, if it's your opinion, tell the client. Like, you know, do you know what I mean? It's all about language.
And share
I think.
Evidence, right?
Yeah.
It's like
I think this person's great for the following reasons. Or, you know, I met this person and she was really, really engaging. I really thought, actually, immediately was like, she reminds me a lot of you. I think you'd get on really well. You know, whatever it might be. But
even if it's fact-based, like you use SAP in your business, so this person uses SAP.
It's just stupid like comments like, oh, I've got the perfect candidate for that. No, you haven't.
No,
no one's got the perfect candidate. Even whoever they hire is not going to be the perfect candidate.
Yeah, you got the perfectly available candidate. That's what you have.
Yeah.
But going back to your point of, can a consultant prioritise commission over kind of candidate or client's needs? I think they do, and I don't think it's a case of not caring about the candidate or the client.
Yeah, I don't think it's mutually exclusive. It's not like one or the other.
I think that's more of a byproduct, right? You could be good at your job based on the fact that you're driven by commission and you're driven by the money that you're going to earn and the fees that you're chasing as such. But the only reason you're going to be successful in the long term is if you're taking care of the
doing
needs
the right things.
Yeah, if you're delivering on the needs of your candidate and client.
Yeah. But it's the qualification ends up being too simple, that you don't actually know their needs. It's like when a consultant says, I can't believe the candidate changed their mind. They probably didn't change their mind. You didn't understand their mind enough to actually align to what they were thinking. And then they revealed things that you hadn't discovered in the past. You think they changed their mind. They were just starting to show more of their cards because the timing was right. If you'd have invested more at the beginning in understanding how they were thinking, like when you start in recruitment, you get given forms, right? And you get this form and you fill that in when you talk to a candidate.
Cue sheets and stuff. Right?
And it says, reason for leaving. Why do you want to leave? I'm looking for a new challenge. oh, that doesn't really fit in the box, but I'll try, right?
I'll take that.
New challenge, right? I'll have that done, and then move on to the next thing. And there's rarely the coaching that takes place to help them to understand why we asked that question and the purpose of discovering it to then unpack it. So and there isn't room on a form, right, to have reason for leaving and then a box that says, how long have you felt like that? And when did it begin? And what was the trigger? You're like all of those things that become the laddering of the questions to really understand the motive. So it becomes a surface qualification of that. And then they've got a box that says, what are you looking for? 3 days working from home, 85 grand, manufacturing, not financial services. And they just write down this, what I would call a token list. Anything that goes in a wheelbarrow, we need to be able to drill it further to find out, why is that important to you? Why this, not that? And as they start to understand why people want what they want, they've got their real values. Then you can say, I understand that candidate's motives, drivers, needs, expectations, and feel more
Jeremy,
justified in being surprised.
I've got 50 of these phone calls to make, mate. I've only got so many hours of call time. How do I get all of that in one call?
So you do your 50 phone calls, and then you do the deep dive with the ones that you want to put forward. So for example, you work through 50 people. Like if you started with, we go back to a strategy. If we started with a strategy of my job is to provide maximum choice to client and candidate, the strategy to be able to do that, I need to make sure I talk to 50 candidates about this job, not put forward the first 3 that say yes. So as I talk to 50 people,
that's the difference.
As I talk to 50 people, and also, the first 3 say yes.
As a recruitment business owner, I don't care if you spoke to 5 people or 100 people, if you're billing.
Correct.
Because that's the end goal, right? If you talk about business strategy, what the business strategy is kind of how we're going to get there. But there is billing.
Yeah, the goal or the end result is
you've got to be making money. For us to even consider doing any of this, right? We have to get money coming into the pot. So if you're then building relationships with big clients and good candidates and all that sort of stuff, and you're doing that by only speaking to 25 people, not 50, I don't give a shit. And I think those directors and MDs and kind of recruitment managers who are focusing solely on the individual KPIs of what needs to happen, for me, they're doing it totally wrong. Have your KPIs, absolutely, as direction. But if somebody's able to perform without having to weave in and out of that slalom of KPIs that you're offering them, then let them do that. Give them the freedom to be able to do that. I had it when I was when we were at agency. And I was like 7 temps or something stupid like that, right? I put like an extra 50 pound an hour on my day book in a week, and they were all, apart from 1 or 2, they were all straight recommendations. So speak to the client, got this candidate, I think they'll be wicked, blah blah blah. I'll send them in for tomorrow. Yeah, no worries, send them in. And I did that the entire week, and my billings went through the roof. And the MD of the business came up to me. She was like, your 21-day report's looking a bit heavy. And I'm like, so?
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, well, I mean, that 21-day report is so that was a list of candidates who haven't been spoken to for 21 days. And she was like, yeah, you need to be on top of that, really. Anyone that goes over that 21-day report, we really should be getting back in touch with. I was like, look, if I'm a temp consultant, if I haven't placed these candidates in the last 21 days, I probably ain't placing them. If I've managed to put 7 people into a job this week, and of these 50 people on this 21-day report, none of them fit the bill, I'm telling you now, I'm not going to place these candidates. They're better off working with somebody else than they're working with me, because I'm not going to place them. And that for me was the trigger point when I was like, right, I'm out of here. Because there was no pat on the back with like, fucking hell, Sean, like you've smashed it out of the park this week. Instead, it was like, yeah, but your 21-day report, your KPIs were looking a bit weak. Because that's, when you talk about shared benefit, for her, the thing was obviously being able to put a report out that said, look, all of our candidates have been spoken to within the last 21 days. Instead of, I've got a consultant here who smashed out 7 placements this week. Most of them.
Yeah, let me replicate that.
Yeah, most of them.
Well, everyone's driven by their own agenda, aren't they?
And at some point, and it may not have materialised, but at some point that consultant then might the following month not do 7 placements and not have any jobs, and then go, I need to go back to my 21-day report. Because now I can see, if I speak to more of those people on the 21-day report, I'll start to discover, like if I didn't place you, somebody else did. I now know where you're working, what you're doing, what you're being paid, when you're due to finish, all of those things that then helps repopulate what might be my sales map.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think the KPI drivers, it's good. I mean, we've got KPIs for the guys, and our KPIs are very, very simple. It's literally just a 5-a-day sort of thing, right? Just to give these guys a bit of direction in terms of this is where you need to go to plan your day out.
Mm-hmm.
But if I've got somebody who's billing 10k a month, and they're not doing their 5-a-day, but they're billing 10k a month, and there's repeat business from the same clients and all that sort of stuff, I'm not touching it with KPIs. What you're doing is working. Let's improve the things that you're doing so that we can make incremental 1% differences.
That's it. Yeah,
and the things that you're not doing that well,
from there to there.
let's kind of improve those as well.
Yeah. But then the KPIs change.
Yeah.
Because then there's new things that actually, if you look at an improvement here, we need to be able to do some kind of measure.
Of course we do, yeah.
So,
and I think that's the important thing, isn't it? These KPIs aren't carved in stone.
No.
So actually, if you've got for the business, if you've got a set of KPIs for sort of consultants as this is the yardstick, this is what we're going to measure you on, but actually individually, these are the sort of individual KPIs that you have and the individual performance measurements that we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
That probably holds more credence and more value to the consultant.
Yeah, I agree. I think a business can set some minimum standards. Our minimum standards in terms of these 3 things, whether that's conversations with candidates or conversations with clients or business meetings or whatever it is, these are our minimum standards. For each of you individually, you have a different set of KPIs because each of you has a different area from a performance perspective that creates your enhancement. The things that you're good at, you could become better at. So let's look at making you great at the thing that you're good at.
Yeah, one size fits all KPI kind of
doesn't
strategy is probably not the way forward for businesses in recruiting today. Okay.
So looking at your kind of cold call strategy, then is there like a script to search? Is there a common pattern? Like what's your thing? Then what do you tend to introduce to consultants who you're doing the sales training with?
Ask for 28 seconds. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah. 12.
12
you can get it done in 12. Fundamentally,
that's 2 VD calls, right?
it comes down to personal confidence in the list that you've built. So the better the quality of the plan that you do today for your sales calls tomorrow, the better the sales calls will be tomorrow.
Okay, so let's say you've gone through all of that. You've delivered some training, and we've got the strategy in mind. We've got kind of all the bits and pieces that we need, right? So day 1 of my post Jeremy sales training, right? What would my phone call look like, or what should it look like?
Phone call would look well. It's a relatively standard kind of process of an introduction, and the important piece is the introduction of purpose. The purpose that I believe you'd be interested in talking to me is more important to get across than the purpose as to why I want to talk to you. Which it comes back to the plan to be able to think about why do I want to call them, but more importantly, why would they want to talk to me? So there are tools that you can use to start to think about, well, if I take some information about their business and I talk to them about their business more than I talk about mine, I'm calling because I saw this on your site. I saw this in terms of that recent merger. I saw your photo in the Potato Buzz magazine with your new crisp manufacturing machine. Just something that shows I've done something with some intent that has prompted the conversation to take place today that I would consider to be temporal. And because it is temporal, it is the timing to show that the reason it's today and not yesterday, or the reason it's today and not tomorrow is this thing. That then gives me more opportunity to have at least somebody who is going to talk to me with a bit more intent to explore where this might go, compared to if I'm non-timing based and it's more condition based in terms of I work in oil, you drill for oil, let's talk oil right, or whatever
just stop
is.
oil, you mean?
Yeah. So
let's run over just stop oil protesters.
The introduction part is so much about the purpose I'm calling is, and you give them something about what you see about them and their business, and then it's your ability to show deductively. So I would imagine that this might be on the agenda, and if this is on the agenda, we should talk.
So that's almost a pattern disrupt, but in reverse, isn't it? So rather than kind of outwardly being like, this is a sales call, kind of have 30 seconds, what you're saying is, the reason I'm calling is because I saw X.
Yeah, it's a consultative call.
Yeah, I saw X, which prompted me to call.
Yeah.
And that almost kind of gives the prospect okay, they want to talk to me about recruitment, or they want to talk to me about whatever the topic matter. So that's kind of almost your pattern disrupt then, is it?
Kind of. I've never really thought about it as being a pattern disrupt. I've just thought about it as
you don't run training sessions giving people a script, though, do you?
No.
You give them the
method,
the methodology, and the psychology behind the why, rather than the say these 15 words at
Correct.
the start of your call, and people will give you.
I'll give them the 3 words not to say.
Yeah.
Like, it is illegal in a sales call to say just, quick, and only.
Yeah.
Now, if you start with just, quick, and only,
Just a quick introduction. I only want to talk to you for 5 seconds.
it's just Jeremy from Hayes.
Yeah.
Do you know when people do that? Or I get it. There's this one, bless her, she calls me all the time. It's from the letting agency that rent out one of my houses, and she was like, "Oh, it's just Beth," and every time I'm like, "Hi, just Beth," and then she'll be like, oh, "You always do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, because you always tell me it's just Beth, so I'm assuming that's your name. Because why would you know what I mean?"
I also hate when they say, "It's all right, it's just." I was like, no,
correct.
so, wait, you're affirming for me whether this call's okay.
So I would prefer to asset strip out the naughty words.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to become the best version of you doing this thing. It's you who is the practitioner
it's the
who's picking up that
confidence
phone,
of,
right?
Yeah.
But actually, it's more authentic as well.
Yeah.
Because if we take upstairs, for example, if Tash will say it's a recruitment sales call, can I have 30 seconds? That feels like a script. But if Tash called up and be like, "Hey, it's Tash. I saw that you guys have just merged with whoever, which prompted my call." That's more of a, okay, this person's in tune with the market.
And you're setting the tone, aren't you? Yeah. Okay,
So you've done that bit. What's next? So you've had the phone call. The person's like, "Yeah, go on then. Let's have a quick conversation." So what would the methodology look like then? How would I structure that first call?
So if I did that at full headlines, it would then be a question stack to qualify more about the business, the person who I'm talking to, and their goals and objectives, to be able to do an assessment of, am I fit for you? Are you fit for me? To then be working towards a goal of, well, we either then needs to create a more formal conversation around this, or position things as to when's going to be a better time to talk from a timing perspective to start to really get things going. So it then becomes questions to really qualify the relationship potential between the two of us, a summary so that I can start to demonstrate that I can take on board the things that they've said, process it, paraphrase it back to them to make sure that my understanding was the same as their intention, and then from that use the summary to be able to give them 2 or 3 reasons why, if I feel it's appropriate, there is mileage in us moving forward together, which could be based upon our conversation. When you said dirt and dirt and dirt, I believe it's worth us exploring because we currently work with, and we've delivered this as an outcome, and the people who we've hired have helped to be able to create this as a result for their business, to then work towards a more formal close on an advance to the next step rather than a continuation. And if the next step becomes an advance, it should feel like we've dialed up incrementally their commitment to have more intent to start to see us as being a genuine contender, rather than being another agency that they could add to a list, that if they find themselves in the shit, they can call at last minute and say, it's 4 o'clock Friday, I need a temp for Monday, which probably tees them up to fail, and then they blame the agency. Because the agency didn't onboard them. Does that make sense? Like
you're supposed to have these candidates already on your system, on your database.
On your books. What are my books?
You're supposed to have these candidates on your books. I don't understand why they're not there.
I spoke to a construction recruiter whilst I was on the way here, and he was saying to me, he said, "Look, I'm getting frustrated because I'm winning business, but clients are giving me calls to find labourers and general workers for their construction sites at like 5 o'clock on a Friday for Monday, and all my good guys I've placed on a Wednesday." So his sales call got him onto a list. His sales call made him memorable enough that, hey, Sid's all right to talk to. He sounds like a good guy. He's talking about other construction businesses that I know in the same area, so he must have people. I'll pop him on the list. But he's now on a ring round list. If you've got a couple of people for Monday,
and chances are he's bottom of that list, because what they're doing is they're calling through the first 10 that are already on there, and then by the time they get to him, he's number 11. That's Friday at 5 o'clock.
So he really needs to reposition himself with those site managers to say, when do you have your resourcing meeting? When do you know what you've got being delivered
let
on
me know
site for
straight
next
away.
week?
I can have people on standby to let them down.
Why do you wait till Friday rather than Wednesday?
Yeah.
And that's it, isn't it? A lot of people are just scared to ask why. And I always say to my guys, don't ask why. Don't use the physical word as why, because that can actually be quite confrontational, because you're really kind of questioning.
It's pokey, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very. So rather than asking why, it's normally a what and how. But generally speaking, it's a case of finding out why. Why have you made that decision that you've just made? You've decided to call me on a Friday to ask for temps on Monday. Why have you done that? Why is it that we've got to Monday morning and you're annoyed at me for not delivering those temps when you didn't tell me about them? Why would you not work over the weekend to tell me whether these candidates are suitable or not? There's so many
Totally.
different. Do you know what I mean? There's so many. What you're asking of me is to give up my weekend to service you for Monday. And there's every opportunity that the other 10 agencies that you called before me are probably going to already fill it or have already sent somebody in.
It comes back down to that point right at the start there, right? Transactional relationship.
Totally. And it's what you were saying about our job is to educate people. There's an education process that's required. Like in that business that he works at, I've heard others encounter a similar situation, right? And I've heard like a consultant on the phone talking to a site manager, me with a little headset listening to the call. They love that. Right, so I'm there listening and writing my notes, and they asked this site manager, why do you leave it so late to call me? He said, well, we try and do everything possible not to use agencies because their candidates aren't very good. Because if you're any good, you'd have a permanent job working on a building site. So we try and cover it and cover it and cover it, and then at the last minute, if we haven't found anyone, we'll get an agency in. So he's like self-perpetuating that all he gets is dregs, because he does it on a Friday, gets the dregs and goes, see? Yeah, when someone turns up on site with a toolkit that's a Morrison's bag with a saw in it, we're going to send them home.
I once had a painter decorator turn up at my house with bin bags. Came in with bin bags of like paint trays and rollers and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, this isn't going to fucking go well, is it?
Yeah.
We also had that guy that painted the office.
Oh, God, don't. Yeah.
But the site manager creates the experience and then blames the vendor.
Yeah.
And the vendor blames the site manager, and neither of them have a conversation about how
doesn't tell
actually
them.
did this happen.
Yeah.
So,
because the vendors explained to you the issue,
Totally.
and then there was your chance to go, well, it might be because all the good people are placed by
they've
Wednesday.
gone on a Wednesday.
Are they? Yeah. So you call me on a Wednesday, I'll send you good. I'll send you good people. The ones that are left on a Friday afternoon, Friday evening, they're the ones that aren't good enough to go anywhere else or whatever. Because
I can put you down for a pre-booking now if you think you're going to want to.
Yeah.
I can start to look for two, so that Wednesday. That's
give that a bash. What's the worst that'll happen?
Exactly.
And also, historically, have you had a look at every Monday? How many people do you need? Generally speaking, over the last 4 Mondays, how many people have you needed? 6. Okay, so let's just assume this Monday you're going to need 6 people too. So why not start finding for you now?
Yeah. Yeah, one of the nursing recruiters who I work with, she's got a temp book that's 20 grand a week. And one of the things that's really helped her to get to that level is she trained the ward managers on the benefits of rebooking good people. Like before they go home, tell them to come back tomorrow. And they were like, is that what? I don't know. That's just such a good idea.
Yeah, but it's an education piece. Am I allowed to do that?
Yeah.
But that's
Because they thought they'd have to go back through the same loop and give in another booking.
Yeah.
Like hiring a car and taking it back every day.
Taking it back
I need
every day.
another car.
Refill out all the paperwork again. Yeah.
And she trained the nurses on what good behaviour looks like to get rebooked, what to do during break time, what to do during a shift, how to be helpful. And the nurses were like, oh, and that would just give me like more. Yeah. So you'll get continuous work. You'll get somebody coming back who's good.
And I'll get
like the whole thing just.
Yeah. But then you've earned that 20 grand a week temp book, and rather than just servicing a client. Yeah.
And there are other people in that business who are struggling to get to 3 or 4 grand a week because they're just accepting the fact that these people mess me about. They give me bookings every day shifts, night shifts, and they're forever like trying to
Just
shuffle pieces around.
Yeah.
It comes down to wanting to be better as well, though, doesn't it? I mean, a lot of people fall into recruitment, don't they?
Yeah.
Most people have. In fact, I've yet to meet somebody who's out and out going, oh, I want to be...
Yeah, it was an active career choice.
After leaving school, I decided that I wanted to go into recruitment. Most people didn't even know recruitment existed when they were at school.
Yeah.
So for most people, they fall into recruitment, and it's just something that pays the bills, and they get the odd commission packet here and there, but they'll soon leave it the first opportunity they get. And that's, I think, what makes hiring recruiters so difficult, is finding the ones that are genuinely wanting to be recruiters and be good at it.
Yeah, but again, it's by doing some of the things that you're talking about there, you can make that stint in recruitment, be it a year, 2 years, 5 years or whatever, an enjoyable one where you're seeing the fruits of your labour rather than this boom bust thing of champagnes and razor blades recruitment is. Well, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be.
And if you think it's a roller coaster, you built the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Right, so you've got to ride it. If you want something that's flatter and consistent, you can build
put the
that
work
as well.
in. Yeah, put the work in and do it. Yeah, simple things. That's it, right? So how do our viewers reach out to you? What's your point of preference at your website, LinkedIn, email?
Probably quickest and easiest is to pick up the phone. Not adverse to receiving phone calls, even if others are adverse to making them. So you can
get my number on LinkedIn.
It's on my LinkedIn profile. You can call me. You can drop me a WhatsApp message. You can send me a direct message on LinkedIn. You can go to the website. You can click the inquire form. There's plenty of ways to be able to find me.
And how busy are you at this point then? Are you busy enough to take on new clients, or not busy enough and you got to take on loads of clients?
Busy.
Yeah.
I always carry enough capacity to take on a sexy project.
Mm-hmm.
I never book myself out to full capacity.
Okay. And you've got online training stuff that people can kind of get additional value from, or kind of start the process
straight
off,
right? We've had 200 we launched Rookie to Recruiter midway through last year. We've had 250 businesses put their rookies through that, which is an online training program, which incorporates a live coaching session with me every week. So every Tuesday, anyone who's logged in can turn up for a Q&A session for 90 minutes. There are ways that people can access stuff really quickly that's
excellent,
high impact, high quality.
Great.
And most of your sessions, are they face-to-face in the office? Do consultants come to you? Do you come to them?
I go there and I'll do that 2 days per month, and the rest of my life I spend delivering live online training or recording new modules to add to the library of content that we've got.
Fab.
Perfect.
Cool. Well, look, thank you for taking the journey to come and see us today. And yeah, that's it really.
Yeah, okay. Bye.
Yeah. Nathan keeps giving us grief. He's like, you guys got to finish better. You got to finish better. I'm like, what do you want us to do, Nathan? Like, we're not hosts. Do you know what I mean?
Should we sing a song?
We could sing a song. Kumbaya.
No.
When I was at Adecco,
Ace of
there was a
Spades?
song for Adecco.
What was that?
Yeah. If you Google it on YouTube, you'll see they made a video for it and everything. It's called Better Work, Better Life.
That's so crazy.
The outro to this podcast has to be that. No, appreciate you coming down today.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, no, really appreciate you coming down. Very insightful in terms of what you're delivering. So we'd love to have you back on at some point.
Cool.
I think we've got the roundtable stuff coming up soon.
Oh yeah.
So we'll
camera.
Sound.
Cool.
All right.
Nice.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Cheers, Jeremy.
Cheers.